Welcome everybody, welcome, and today we are going to talk about securing modern devices without compromising the usability. So I hope you all had a nice lunchtime, no after dinner dips at this time. Before we deep dive into the session, let me shortly introduce myself and the ones who are speaking with today. I'm Yvonne Spiro. I'm a senior account manager at Pro Warehouse, and Pro Warehouse is an Apple authorized enterprise reseller. A lot of words meaning nothing else that we are a specialist in Apple. Of course, we sell the things, but it's a total package of support in understanding the way how Apple can work within organizations. And today we are going to talk with two people who can tell a lot about that. First of all, Adam, maybe you can introduce yourself the best.
Yeah, hi everyone. So my name's Adam Boynton. I work on security strategy at Jamf. So if you're not familiar or heard of Jamf, we are best known for what we do in the Apple enterprise or ecosystem. So we're leaders in Mac management and security software. But we've also, in the last couple of years, put a lot of investment and focus on mobile technologies, mobile security, so products for iOS and Android devices. So I cover each of those kind of respective fields in terms of proposing or advising customers on what security solutions are required or not required for Apple, iOS, Android devices. And yeah, have the pleasure to also be joined by Alex. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, so I'm Alex Smith. I'm the lead endpoint security engineer at Adyen. I run our endpoint security team. I've worked at Adyen for about 3 years now. A lot of my experience has been in Apple platform security and just how to manage Apple devices in an enterprise context. As you can hear, my accent, I am American. I'm from New York. I come from New York finance, so I spend a lot of time in hedge funds and commercial banking. Some people have never heard of Adyen, but you've probably used us without knowing it. If you've ever used like Google Pay or Apple Pay, if you've ever paid for an Uber or gotten your food delivered, I don't know for any Dutch folks in the room, if you've ever used Thuisbezorgd or gone to Albert Heijn, you've used us without knowing us. Basically, Adyen, in a sort of short blurb, we're a payments infrastructure provider. We actually create our own payments platform. We also make the payment terminals. So kind of in short, when you go to tap your card on something, we make the thing you're tapping on, and we make the magic in the background that makes sure that the money ends up in the right hands.
Nice, that's a good introduction. So welcome again, Adam and Alex. And today we are going to explore how organizations stay secure with the Apple devices without compromising the user experience. And I have some questions about that for both of them. Let's first look at the current landscape and the context. Maybe, Alex, for you first, what trends are you seeing in Apple adoption across the enterprise?
Sure. So I would say if it were 2015, my answer to that question would be the device that you get at work is usually based on your job role. So if you're an employee who uses anything Adobe or JetBrains, you're likely going to be just given a Mac. And if you're literally anyone else, you're likely to be given whichever Lenovo thing your company is buying. However, in 2025, it's a very different circumstance. I think what you're seeing is, or what we see especially in the financial services industry, are a lot of employee choice programs. Businesses are moving more towards allowing people to have the device experience that they want. I think that Apple has continued to penetrate the consumer sector to the point where most people, I feel like most of you probably have either an Apple Watch or a HomePod, or the kids have an iPad at home, and your ecosystem at home kind of influences the type of technology and the experience that you like at work. And we're seeing that a lot of industries are moving more towards allowing employees to choose their experience, as opposed to saying, you're in this job role, this is the device we want you to have.
Yeah, and I guess just to provide some stats that back up what Alex was saying. So a study from 2024 found that 76% of organizations saw an increase in Mac deployment over the course of that year. So because we've got a bit of a smaller group, maybe a show of hands, who in this audience has Mac within their enterprise today? 1, 2. Okay.
Wow, a
Nice.
lot of challenges.
And so maybe by the end of this, we might help you influence changing that for the next year and beyond. But not just Mac, iPhone is also the fastest growing tool, technology, iOS if you like, technology that's being adopted in the enterprise. So whether that's employees encouraging or introducing more of a BYOD program, or actually giving users mobile devices, and iPhone still is outgrowing the rest of the devices that we could potentially work from. So again, yeah, show of hands, who has iPhones? Yeah, that's more like it. By the way, when we talk about mobile devices, we do also support Android. So this is obviously very Apple focused, but if you hear anything with referring to mobile devices throughout this questioning, like, we can also support Android devices. So don't feel like you're being left out. We're just judging you if you have Android instead of iOS.
Cool, thank you. Okay, and good to see your hands-on. To be honest, what kind of new security challenges does come with Apple in the workplace?
So I think with Mac in particular, and obviously reflected here, not many of you deploy Macs on scale, but actually what we find is a big challenge is unmanaged Macs. So this might be you have users in the organization that are using Macs in their personal life and are now trying to either use them for work purposes, or maybe they're doing that without you knowing. So there's a kind of potential security risk or compliance risk that ultimately introduces. If you're not managing these devices the same way you manage your Windows devices, especially if you are, as an organization, trying to adhere to compliance frameworks, that's obviously a big challenge. Also, with the increased use in mobile devices, the reliance on mobile devices, we are starting to see a shift, if you like, in terms of attackers actively targeting mobile as a potential entry point to either company data or to expose or infiltrate an individual within the organization. So the trends are kind of like, these devices are great. There's a lot of positives behind using them. Companies are starting to adopt them. Attackers are noticing that as well, and they're focusing on devices which are becoming more popular and more maybe with less of eyes from a security team than the devices you've been used to using for the last 5-10 years.
Yeah, I would agree with nearly all of that. I would say, to speak specifically on our experience at Adyen, probably one of the biggest challenges that we had in kind of becoming a predominantly Mac shop was really was an information or a knowledge gap. A lot of our security team, when I started 3 years ago, they were mostly guys who were used to securing Windows devices. A lot of Linux engineers were on that team. And I think there was a lot of friction at first when it came to adjusting to a completely different security model. Mac OS really is its own beast. There's a lot of products that you use in the Windows space. I remember a couple of years ago when I was working at JP Morgan, we deployed Carbon Black Protect across Mac OS because we just assumed that the way it would work on Windows and would be the way it would work on Mac. And it turns out that when LaunchD and BSD tar and Ditto do everything on a device, Carbon Black flipped out. So it's really important, I think, in our organization to kind of teach our guys how to really work with Mac in a kind of organic and more fulsome way, as opposed to trying to translate their kind of Windows and Linux knowledge and map it onto a security model that's completely different.
Yeah, thank you for your honest answer. And looking at that security journey, what security challenges were you facing before you implemented Jamf?
Oh, so this is a story I love telling. So I would say about 4 or 5 years ago, the philosophy at Adyen was really about trying to minimize dependencies. Our CTO and our CISO had this idea that if your services are dependent on, external providers, especially as a payments company where there's a need to be active kind of 24/7 because, a person in Tokyo wants to get an Uber at the same time that a person in San Francisco wants to order something on Amazon, our platform has to be constantly running and highly available. The fewer external dependencies we have, the better. What that translated to on the tech side, though, was a lot of discrete and custom engineering. They decided to try to first party as much as they could including trying to build basically their own MDM from scratch. That proved to be a much greater challenge than they were expecting at the time, because the MDM protocol is a beast. I don't know if anyone here has ever looked at Apple's MDM protocol reference. It's like a 350-page PDF, very difficult to get through. And we just also had a lot of, and because we had so much custom engineering, there were also really there's a lot of divergence between our operational processes, because one group of engineers would create one part of the solution, and then a different group of engineers would create another part of it, which means that the operational, techniques that are being used in bucket A would not be reflected always in bucket B, and then for bucket C and D and E. So a lot of the challenges that we had was just like discrete engineering layered on top of other discrete engineering, and just honestly doing things that we weren't necessarily good at. Like at Adyen, our focus and specialty is payments. The engineering talent that we use should be dedicated to payments, not developing, our own mail server or trying to reinvent the wheel on MDM. That's not our expertise. And yeah, that was one of our kind of doing things that we weren't necessarily good at were one of our biggest challenges.
That's a great story. Adam, maybe from your side, something?
Yeah, I guess, for those of you that aren't familiar with Jamf's core business, that is ultimately what Adyen turned to Jamf for initially. Like, we make it super simple, super easy to deploy Macs on scale. So there's a lot of brilliant built-in features within macOS or, within the entire Apple ecosystem. But those features are only really useful if you're actually utilizing them in the correct version across each of your devices. So one of the things that we do is just make it super simple to be able to deploy to your Mac, to your users macOS devices that are configured, built exactly how you want it, with the right software preloaded, the right workflows and remediation steps already configured, so that it significantly reduces your IT help desk or whoever's sort of responsible for managing these endpoints. Their time and resource can then be better spent on actually innovation rather than just trying to maintain the kind of the setup of the devices. There was a study by IBM used Macs. They found that they have one engineer that is able to manage 5,500 Macs, and that engineer is able to do that simply. For Windows, they have 22 engineers managing the same number of Windows devices and dealing with the challenges that they have there. So it is obviously, you do need engineers who know what they're doing with Mac OS, but the tools are there to make it a lot easier. And suddenly then when you start looking at, Mac, the cost of Mac initially up front cost a lot, but actually the cost of your team's time to have to constantly manage and maintain them is significantly lower than a Windows equivalent.
Okay. And Alex, just to come back to you, why did you choose Jamf as a solution?
So I was actually part of the decision making for us to move on to Jamf. I actually have a lot of experience with Jamf. The first time I started working with the product was when it was called Casper Suite back in 2009, I think. I've definitely been a long-time Jamf customer. I think the thing that I really like, so at Adyen, we actually use two of their product offerings. Jamf Pro is the MDM solution, and then we use Jamf Protect for EDR. For Jamf Pro, it was a very easy choice. Again, kind of having the foundation to manage your devices in a kind of unified, kind of fulsome way. Even when you make mistakes, it's nice that you can make the same mistake across your entire environment. So that way, when you fix it, you're also fixing it across your entire environment. So that was a very easy choice. When it came to Jamf Protect for EDR, that was definitely a more involved conversation. But again, I think having that core competency with Jamf helped make the transition over to using their EDR solution a lot simpler for us. And I think that it's, at least in my opinion, is definitely paid quite heavy dividends for us. Jamf Protect in general as a solution has been really effective at not only discovering bad practices in our environment, but then also, I think 3 weeks ago, we had our kind of first production malware detection. Someone was infected with Atomic Stealer via their browser, and we saw that Jamf Protect was not only able to quarantine the malicious processes, but also kill them. which was super huge. And it also being able to, raise alerts and raise awareness and create, we're able to actually build various levels of automation that allow us to take an alert that's raised by the EDR, feed it to our SIEM, and then immediately begin the incident handling process. That all being powered by the same suite of tools that come from a vendor that's clearly put in, the time and the effort and honestly the money to make a unified suite of products. I think for us is the greatest benefit.
And I guess just to add a little bit to what Alex was saying there, so one of the things that sets Jamf apart from other security vendors that also support Mac is we have a dedicated threat research team that is solely looking for Mac OS specific threats. So they do great work in terms of anything they find, they publish and share, and then it's obviously if it's any kind of zero-day vulnerabilities, Apple are then informed and it's fixed within subsequent OS releases. But having that dedicated research team just gives us a laser focus in actually being able to detect threats which are targeting the platforms that our customers use. We also do have an equivalent mobile-focused threat research team that do exactly the same thing. So they're researching attacks and vulnerabilities that are specifically targeting the mobile OS. So yeah, really invaluable. Makes my life a lot easier having them as part of our team. So yeah, a lot of the kind of detections we make is done off our own internal team's research and analysis.
Okay. So I think you already shared a good example of the impact of Jamf Protect for the company. Can you also walk us through a kind of project or initiative where you had Jamf and it had a measurable impact?
Sure. So one of the things that my team is working on currently is we're actually building our own malware lab. We have a framework that we use for detecting anomalous behavior in our environment. To kind of give you the TLDR, we essentially baseline our users, and then we look for anomalous patterns among their activity. We mostly do that by monitoring the way that certain platform binaries and non-platform binaries are used on their system. But the way that wouldn't be possible without Jamf Protect. But then with our malware lab, what we're able to do is take real-world malware samples, detonate them, and then to see how the EDR reacts. Because, again, one of the kind of powers of Jamf is that it really puts you in the driver's seat of designing your own, not designing your own experience, but like designing whatever your framework is going to be. And so for us, being able to sort of test how the EDR reacts, how does malware react to the EDR is really important. And we're able to perform that testing using basically virtualization, using virtualized Mac clients.
I like the visualization of sitting in the driver's seat. Okay, looking ahead, what trends do you see emerging in enterprise security for this year or upcoming years?
So I would say, speaking specifically on kind of Apple platform security, I would say the biggest things that we are concerned about, definitely supply chain attacks against development communities. What we're seeing is a lot of threat actors, especially state-level actors, are injecting malicious code into public repositories, so GitHub, Docker Hub, Jupyter Hub. They're not only injecting code into those repositories, they're actually creating malicious repositories that are designed to look and feel like something legitimate, so that your developers unknowingly import code using privileged helper tools. I would say also privileged helper tools are another thing that we are concerned about, especially if you decide to use Mac in your environment. Tools like Brew, like Monkey Install, installers that can run as root on your system, that can perform actions like editing files that are word writable. Those are a couple of things. And then obviously we've gone maybe 20 minutes without saying AI, the dreaded AI word. In the malware space, I think the original problem with AI was we were concerned about about prompt injection, people using AI to create the exploits. Now what we're seeing are exploits that are actually powered by generative computing. There's some research. I'm on a new one called Chimera for macOS. And it actually is able to dynamically analyze its environment and to create exploits based on what it finds. So for Mac OS, as an example, it can actually spoof code signatures at runtime, which is like something out of Swordfish for all the 90s kids in the room. Yeah, absolutely terrifying. But yeah, I think definitely generative exploits and supply chain attacks against developers are probably two of our major points of concern.
Cool. And I guess I've got kind of two answers to that. So one of them, a little less sexy than AI and these type of attacks, but we're seeing a lot of customers who are coming to us around compliance needs or compliance requirements. So if you are trying to adhere to particular compliance frameworks, a lot of them now are regulating. It's not just a kind of initial, the device has to be compliant at this point. It's continuous compliance, okay? So making sure that not only are they compliant at the point that you're having an audit, but actually are you future-proofing the compliance of this device? So how are you enforcing that you're keeping the devices up to date with CIS or CIS level 1 or CIS level 2 or GDPR or NIST or whatever it may be. So yeah, a lot of challenges around actually just that continuous compliance element. We are also, the second part, trends for this year, we're seeing an increase in mobile targeted attacks I mentioned earlier. This is some quite sort of low-level ones like phishing or QR code phishing attacks. So for example, in France, there was an attack that happened earlier this year where on the train system in France, for those of you that regularly travel by train, I don't know if you have the same in Belgium, you have a QR code on the front of your seat, which you scan the QR code. If you want to order food, it will then get delivered to your seat. And simple attack, someone had basically put a sticker of their own QR code over the seat on every single seat on this train. It was then redirecting them to a website which looked identical to the food ordering website that it was. And you can imagine a packed train, a lot of users ordering food, no one got any food, everyone got their money taken just for a simple, and we're encouraged to use QR codes, but it's quite an easy way for an attacker to trick a user, even beyond SMS or email phishing. QR code is now a common method they use. And then at the more advanced level, we're seeing, advanced spyware, in particularly organizations that work in high-risk countries. But even in the EU, there was a study put out by the European Parliament that found 14 of the EU member states are actively using Pegasus software within their organizations. So that includes Poland, Hungary, Greece, Spain. Again, they might have legitimate reasons for using Pegasus software, but as we've seen with Poland, they had a regime change where a new prime minister came in and effectively said the previous regime were actually using this Pegasus software against their own internal opposition within the state, not for defense purposes. So we are starting to see businesses that are now potentially being targeted with this spyware. There was a mobile security company that did a study at the end of last year, and they scanned 18,000 devices and found 11 Pegasus samples within those 18,000. And that seems like 11 out of 18,000 is actually not that low a number if you think about it. And all of those 18,000, what makes this study unique were business executives. So they weren't government officials or journalists or people who work for not-for-profit. So again, we're starting to see mobile devices. The fact is, we have them with us at all times. Everyone in this room, I guarantee you've got your phone in your pocket, right? So if I wanted to have some spy on you, that's the device I'm going to use. If I can find some software to infiltrate that device, that's the mechanism. So yeah, mobile is definitely something to keep an eye on if you don't already from a security point of view.
We're not going to do that, okay? No worries. We already looked at some challenges. What security concerns are especially relevant for finance?
So I think just at a high level, conversations that I've had with my own leadership are about kind of understanding our risk profile. Again, at Adyen, we're sort of like financial plumbers. We connect, you to your merchant, and then your merchant to your bank, and then your bank to your central bank. And if there's any one thing that hackers love, it's money and trying to steal it. And at Adyen, we are at different points, either a keeper of money, a guardian of money, or a custodian of it, or a courier of it. And so for us, it was really about understanding that the threat actor we're worried about is not, is usually not 26-year-old hacker collectives in, Brazil. It's APT24, it's APT38, because we are allowed to be in rooms that lots of other businesses are not. Like, we're on the SWIFT network, as an example, which is a highly privileged space. We have direct connections with the central banks of I think all of the G7 and 13 of 20 of the G20. I think last year in one of our securities disclosures, which is public, we told the world that we processed something like 566 billion euro worth of transactions, which is basically announcing to all the hackers that we moved a lot of money that year. So yeah, I think for us it was really about understanding who our adversary is and the steps that we're going to need to take in order to really understand not only how are they attacking us, but then what does that look like when it does happen? Because I think we would like to live in a world where these kind of attacks are 100% preventable, and if you take the right steps, everything will be fine and you never have to worry. And that's just not the case. We kind of have to always be vigilant, especially when our adversaries are both dedicated and very sophisticated.
And I guess as well, not just for finance, but finance in particular have a lot of regulations that you have to adhere to. And a lot of these regulations, I mentioned earlier, different compliance frameworks, they now include every single device that has access to company data. So whether that is these obviously Mac devices or mobile devices that are either managed or unmanaged, if the user is somehow able to access company data through these devices, you need to make sure that you are meeting the requirements that these regulations require. So finance in particular is heavily regulated, but other industries as well. That is some of the challenges that you've got to try and stay ahead of.
Yeah, so security is more like a journey. What's next? What's next in your organization's security journey?
So for us, it's a lot of new products. We have some new leadership at Agen. We recently hired a new CTO who has a new vision for sort of what our security stack is going to look like. And that's opened the door for us to try a lot of new things. I think at this very moment, I have 3 proof of concept evaluations happening at the same time, which I'm going to have to check on my folks right after this meeting, or right after the session. But yeah, I think right now the main priority for us is, thanks to Jamf, we have this huge treasure trove of data from our endpoints, and that's amazing. But the next sort of step in that journey is, what do we do with all of this data? Like, just because I can find an anomalous pattern doesn't mean I can actually do anything about it. So it's cool to have the seam part. Now we have to get the SOAR piece under control. And I think, right now we're looking into a couple of different solutions, one by Google, that's called SecOps. We're also looking at the Elastic Security Suite as well, because it's extensible and we can build it into our growing environment of, kind of SaaS native solutions.
Yeah, and I guess from a Jamf point of view, to kind of echo that, we're really focusing on our product integrations. So we have strong integration with SIEM solutions now, but actually we're looking at integrating with other different sort of potential workflows that you may want to take the Mac OS or the mobile devices to. So yeah, big focus on integrations for us and sort of partnering with different technologies that our customers are using.
Okay. That was my last question, and we're good in time today. So thank you both. Thank you for joining, and thank you all for being here. We are here still today. We are at the Jamf booth. If you want to connect, we are here. Just reach out, let us know, to Adam, Alex, or me from Pro Warehouse. We're happy to help and to connect with you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sure. Do you want it like a Q&A for everybody to hear, or? Yeah, just do. Yeah, that's good. Just let us hear your question. Maybe you can give her a microphone.
My question might be a little bit out of topic, but you talked about a solution which is sold B2B, right, to companies to protect companies' data. But my question is more in a personal context, because we're talking about devices, personal devices. You touched this point as well. My question is, we are aware of certain threats, like, for example, smishing, social engineering, etc. As B2C, this will probably not be affordable, right? Me as a physical person, I will probably not be able to buy this for my personal devices, but I want to protect my data, my personal data, my pictures with families, etc. So my question to you is, what are the biggest threats related to your personal devices?
Yeah, really, really good question. And actually, although we sell B2B, we have a lot of offerings for that BYOD program. So a lot of our customers will offer this as a service to their individuals. If you want to enroll your personal device into this product, and there's a lot of privacy settings that we can enable so that they can't actually see or access any of your personal data, but the device in general has some layer of security on it. For general kind of practice, from a mobile device point of view, like, it's super simple, but just keep your device on the latest OS version. Keep your device on the latest OS version. So as soon as Apple or Android release a new version of OS, just update as soon as you can. Do you have an iPhone or an Android? So iPhone, already this year, Apple have fixed 5 actively exploited zero-day vulnerabilities within the OS, just in the 5 months we've had so far this year. In iOS 18.4, there were 60 different vulnerabilities that were patched. So, like, it's really important you keep your device on the latest version of OS, because there's a lot of fixes that are being done within there. And I'd recommend that for all of the family as well. Outside of that, yeah, don't click on phishing, don't click on links you're not expecting, don't scan QR codes that you're not 100% sure it's legitimate. And yeah, like VPN solutions as well, if you want that kind of extra encryption. Like, I personally use NordVPN, but there are other VPNs. I think we do have to vacate the room for the next speaker.
Yeah, we have.
So any other questions? Let's take them outside the.
We are
the
over
theater.
there with the Jamf corner, so please find us, okay?
Oh, we have a pointer. That's handy. You can walk around a little bit, see if you don't get feedback. Much better.
Put your steps in. So one more
1 minute left. Yes. Yes, professional picture.
Stand awkwardly.
Maybe like more. Yeah.
Going to start on time, eh? Timing is very strict because others are also speaking, so we need to take that in account. Ready to start, Ada?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining this session. I don't know if were any of you at yesterday's session too? No. Perfect. We can make the same jokes. Oh, you will have heard them, but it's okay. So hi, we are Ada and Vincent. We work for Patch My PC. And this is Claude. This is one of our ducks who's had an accident and now is a bit weird, so we thought we would bring him here with us. And today we're going to talk to you about Patch My PC, give you a bit of context about the company, show you a million slides. You will all fall asleep instantly. We won't. And we will also talk about what we have cooking now. So what's on our roadmap, basically. But first of all, are any of you Patch My PC customers right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Who has never heard of Patch My PC? Oh, okay. And are you system administrators? Students? Nice, nice.
Okay.
Future system administrators. Who is on configuration manager? Who is managing a configuration manager environment? Only one. Who is on Intune? Most of us, probably. Who is on a PlayStation at home sometimes? Yeah. So at the end of this meeting, we will raffle a PlayStation 5 away.
Yes,
So
we will
if you
raffle.
count, you have good chances because not all the seats are filled.
So if you are willing to take a picture with us so we can advertise this on LinkedIn and for marketing, and also if you give us your soul and all of your data, we will give you a PS5. No, the soul and data bit was just
That was a joke.
Okay, so let's start. Patch My PC. The origin story involves Space Chicken, and it's a story I don't have time to tell. But we started in 2011 when the founder of the company wrote a product for updating home devices. That product still exists. It's called the Home Updater, and it's free. And we just revamped it last year. So you can use it for your home devices. It has about 500 apps. And yeah, why not? It's free. In 2018, we entered the enterprise space. So we started with an SCCM integration and continued with an Intune integration. And since then, we've helped over 8,500 customers across about 26 million devices. We are a growing people, 150, I think more than 150 now. And 6 of us are MVPs. We have a catalog of almost 2,400 apps. These are third-party apps that we help package and keep up to date. So what do? We do that. So we package your apps for you and make sure that the latest version of those is always deployed through integration with Microsoft Configuration Manager or Intune, or WSUS standalone for those who still use that. This is a boring slide that I don't need to show you because we are at a Cybersec conference, so you probably know why updating is critical. So that. Yes, we integrate with SCCM and Microsoft Intune to make sure everything is up to date in your environment. And we add apps within 24 hours of them being released. So you can always make sure.
Our company was founded by system administrators, and we all are system administrators working for Patch My PC. So you will have your life back because you lose so much time with applications.
Yes. Some of us are also triathlon athletes, like Vincent.
I need a lot of time to do my sports too. Yeah.
Yes. So the biggest challenge is time. And we help with that because whenever a new version of an app goes out, you need to create a new package, test the package, deploy it to pilot, validate, release, and then repeat this endless cycle all over again.
Yes. And who in this room likes to do that? All those tests. And likes to package applications.
If there's anyone who likes that, contact us. We're always looking for app packagers. Okay, so we sort out that problem of time because it takes, on average, 3 to 5 hours per app. And if you multiply that by the number of apps you have in your environment, that's a whole lot of time. And how we make it work? We do that by scanning vendor websites, so we scrape them for new versions, and when they are released, we package them, we test and verify them, and then we deploy them to your environments. The boring part is over, hopefully. So today we're going to show you 3 of our products that actually work together. One of them is Patch My PC Cloud, the SaaS-based Intune integration that has been around since July last year, and that keeps getting revamped. And we also have a reporting bit that is currently in private preview, and a brand new mobile phone app to keep you up to date with news about CVEs and whatever else is fun for cybersecurity. So Vincent?
So, we have a new smartphone app, so you can download that right now if you want. You can find it in the Android App Store or the iPhone App Store. And this is a new smartphone. We just released that last week or 2 weeks ago at a conference in America. We have now a security writing team that tracks the news, so we track all the RSS feeds of the latest security vulnerabilities. And you can see the scores. And I'm going to try to do pause at the end of the video. So you can see here that, so you see a lot of vendors in this big hall. They all do reporting and they see lots of vulnerabilities and they're scanning tools. But we actually do something with that. So you can see with those vulnerabilities that we feel now, this is a very low Chrome vulnerability, 4.3. But we have a patch ready. So you can see in the news when we have a patch ready. Now, when we read that news, we of course want to know how does an environment, do we have Chrome deployed? Is Chrome up to date in our environment? So we will go to the next slide. So now we have the reporting dashboard. And we're going to take a look if Chrome is up to date in our environment. Now, Intune We all come from the configuration manager space with PatchMyPC, and that has a huge database of reporting data. Now, Microsoft released Intune, and the big pain point with Intune is you don't know what's happening in your environment, especially around applications. You see some errors of failed deployments. But we will do now software update tracking and hardware tracking. Now, for the software update part, we can do that through the Graph API, so we can still, we're an agentless solution, patching, updating, completely. You don't even have to install anything. It all works through the Intune management extension service. Now, the hardware part, we will need an agents, so we can track storage, battery, warranty. We can, all the hardware information of those devices. Now, we have found Chrome, and we can see that computer is not applicable. It means that we don't need that update deployed because Chrome is probably not present on that device. If it's green, it's compliant. If it's red, it's not compliant, and we know that we need to deploy those patching, that Chrome update to that specific device. We will also do some Microsoft update tracking. We don't do Microsoft updates. Microsoft does do a great job around operating system patching with Microsoft Auto Patch. And so now we're at a hardware point. So we can see external displays, battery health, disk status. Lots of more things are coming. This is a preview portal. This is not live for production ready. I think in a few months, we hope to have a private or a public preview of this tool. But you can see all your users, and you get all the hardware information. If you just, it's all click through, you just click on a device, and it's the tool that system administrators will probably need to be to track and monitor a successful Intune environment.
This is actually in private preview right now. So for existing customers, you can email insiders@patchmypc.com, and you can try it out.
Yeah, you can probably see some bugs in there too, because it's running in preview mode. If you skip to the end, you will see some no data screens. But you can see multiple monitors connected, so you know what's happening on the devices. And that's a big gap now in Intune.
So some of it is built on Intune data, but for some of it, we've built an agent that will be deployed to your devices to collect this data. This dashboard here has Intune data, so it's coming from Intune based on graph calls.
Yeah, disk space, we need an agent. We can attract disk space through Intune, I think. Okay, now we found that Chrome inner reporting was not up to date for some devices. Let's do a patching deployment. And I need to click on play. So let's search for Google Chrome, and let's update that application. Quite easy. We already did 3 other applications, an uninstall, a required application. And let's search for Google Chrome. We can also do that in the discovery. So we can go into your Intune environment and go to the discovery page in Intune, where you can find all the applications that are live in your environment. Select Chrome and select update from there. I will rename that, of course, to Cybersec Google Chrome. We can deploy multiple Google Chromes with the same configuration if we rename the app. You can do pre-install scripts to do atypical actions. What I sometimes like to do is delete another web browser, only deploy Google Chrome Enterprise, but maybe delete in a pre-install install with the PowerShell script. And we have lots of example scripts in our GitHub page to maybe delete Firefox before we do the installation of Google Chrome. Conflicting processes is showing pop-up notifications. Some applications need to close down to successfully update. Now for Chrome, it supports live updates. So it's fine to just perform to just perform the installation. You don't have to show the user that pop-up notification for Chrome. But for example, I had an issue last week with Wireshark. It just throws an error in Intune if it's running on some devices. We will add all the necessary install parameters, reboot suppression, and silent install. You can add your application in your autopilot profile, and you can customize also your return codes.
Yeah, and we're constantly working on this, so the configuration options available now are just what it looks like right now, because it will get better.
Yeah, and if you don't want a CrowdStrike incident, deploy your critical applications in rings. And so that's very important. And you can choose the days that you want to configure. Now I'm going to make my life a little bit easier. I'm not going to deploy in rings. I'm going to immediately, because we also don't have time to wait 14 days for the deployment to be completed. We only have 30 minutes for this. So let's remove the update rings. And let's just deploy an update only. That's only a patching operation. And we're just going to deploy. We're going to not deploy on new systems. We're just going to check if Chrome is present. We're going to trigger an update. So if a user installed it through the company portal app, or it's already present on the image, or a local admin installed it manually, we will detect it and deploy the patch. Everything is also logged under program data PatchMyPC install logs. So if the deployment goes wrong, grab those logs and send them over to our support. Our support is, by the way, endless and for free. So please ask away anything about application deployments. We're famous for our support, and because we are a company founded by system administrators. And now we deployed, we're waiting for the Chrome deployment. And now the deployment, how long does it take normally in your environment? I think 3 minutes,
10 minutes
most of the time.
Most.
Yeah.
Depends.
You can rename your applications. I highly recommend doing that, because sometimes you do manual deployment, so you know the difference in Intune when you look at an application name. Is it a PatchMyPC app or not? Use those prefixes. You can use setup defaults. And now, yes, Chrome is deployed. And let's have a look. So we're going to look in Intune. So that's the only thing that we do. We put those applications in Intune, and then it just deploys to the endpoint. And let's search for that Cybersec Google Chrome. Click on Update. And let's have a look. So it's executed by scriptrunner.exe/update package. And this is the requirement role. So this will check if Google Chrome is present on the device. If yes, the requirement role is met, it goes over to detection roles and deploys the update. Now we can pause the updates if you want. Normally you would never want to do that. Now we just launched a new preview, multiple version control. So we have version retention now. So if something goes wrong with your deployment, let me put it on pause. If something goes wrong with your deployment, you can retain up to 10 different older versions. And you have also now, since today or yesterday, a rollback potential. So that's quite good. Now, what we did now, we looked on our new CV Insights application on a smartphone, detected that there's security news around Google Chrome. We saw in our reporting that we are not compliant on all the devices, maybe. Deployed now the patch. Let's now go back to our smartphone app, because now we can make the circle completely around. We can connect the application on your cell phone with this cloud portal and stay up to date with the latest news. So what we're now going to do is go back to our And this is, by the way, a free app. You don't have to pay. For all the news, it's... I forgot to play. So you can set up custom alerts for some applications that you find important. So when we release a news item around, for example, Google Chrome, but I also have Fortinet. So we have a vendor there with VPN clients that have lots of security vulnerabilities every week. Add that application there, and you will get up to date. And you can say, for example, everything above 6.5, let's put that in our news feeds in our application.
And so you can get all the non-curated content if you want, but then you can set up these alerts and make it more tailored to your own needs.
So now you've created your custom alert, but actually you don't need to do that if you're a PatchMyPC customer, because you can just now sync this application to your PatchMyPC cloud portal, and you as a CISO or a security engineer, we will auto-grab all the deployed applications from PatchMyPC, and you will get curated news of all the applications that are installed in your environment. And you just have that smartphone app, and you can see, I have my daily news of all the applications that I really need to know about. I have personal, and this is the company news feed. Of course, this is a demo. Now it's already there. So all those applications are already deployed by PatchMyPC and live in our environment, and I get the news that I need to see around security. I can also click on company and get the CVE numbers of that specific. So this is for general for all the applications that we manage for the last day. But you can see some numbers of how many security vulnerabilities we actually address in your environment. So I highly advise you. We did not make a big marketing push for this application because it just went live last week. It's called CVE Insights, and it's free. Just put it on your smartphone, extra security news. And we have a whole writing team behind this, writing interesting security articles.
Yes, we also have a Patch Tuesday blog where we have all sorts of technical articles written by Microsoft MVPs and system admins, not just about PatchMyPC. It's a great resource for everything related to your day-to-day jobs. And we post every Patch Tuesday, and we post about Intune, SCCM, space, news, so feel free to navigate there.
Ada, can you set up the Swagit for the PlayStation
Yes.
while I do the sales
Yes.
slide? Of course, we want to sell our product. To reach out to our product team, go to sales@patchmypc.com, send them just a message if you're interested. You can always book a demo on patchmypc.com, and to help you keep your organization secure and saving lots of time and get your life back as a system administrator so you can do your hobbies more.
We also have a few more hours left of the conference, so if you want to find us at our booth, I'm not saying we have waffles, but we have waffles as well. And we have 4 more minutes left until we can do the Swagit. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them or save them for the booth or contact us by traveling pigeon or however you want. Okay.
Does anybody have questions? Anything? We also do macOS patching very, very soon, so that's maybe also
Yes,
important to know.
macOS is also in private preview. So soon we're going to be saying yes to do you support Mac as well.
But we don't do Linux. We don't do Linux.
Yet.
We had that question yesterday. No questions? Okay. So Ada is going to set up the Swagit. You need to grab your cell phone now to install CVE Insights and get the number code of swagit.io. And
Trying to find the dot.
we have a marketing team helping us.
Perfect.
.io, yes.
How many engineers does it take to set up Swagit.io? I can find the dot on the Belgian keyboard. Okay. So this is the number for Swagit. Make sure to join. Go to swagit.io and enter that code. And we'll wait a few minutes, give you a chance to enter, and then we'll raffle it off.
A question.
So directly need to
Swagit.io. Look at that.
start it.
Yes.
Can the technical...
You're not allowed to join.
I tried.
Let our audience win a PlayStation. It's not, by the way, an HP Elite book that we're also giving away.
Okay, so I see a few of you have already joined.
Is everybody filled in, entered the raffle?
I don't
we
think
need to
so.
wait?
I think we still need some
Can
time.
we go?
Has anyone not entered the raffle?
Wait. One more. I'm waiting on the final okay over there. Is it ready? Wait.
Email address,
Yeah, you need to put in your email address.
the password, which password?
No, go to... You're in the login page.
We also offer support for swagit.io.
Enter pin now and join. See when one is. Yes. Yes, add me. Yeah, ready. Good luck.
Perfect.
Okay, we are ready.
So everybody on? Can we do this? Okay. So you'll see the names show up on the screen, but wait until it stops. So the first name that shows up won't be the one that is the winner. I feel like we need a drum roll here. Okay, so the lucky winner is Amel. Oh, nice.
Ah, okay.
I'm sure I butchered your name, I'm sorry.
Can we take a picture?
Yes, sure.
Ada, come and join.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Please visit our booth. I see already some familiar faces that I've seen yesterday and this morning already.
You're welcome.
And good luck with managing your environment.